face breasts.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Backlot Banter. I'm doing here a solo review of the new Mean Girls film released here in the month of January 2024. I'm your host, Tanner Dykstra. Thank you for joining me here, but if you'd like to leave your thoughts on the film, go ahead and comment those down below. We also have a Discord server where you can talk to me or any of the other lovely hosts here at Backlot Banter. The link to join that Discord server is down in the description. Also remember to give this video a like and ring the bell for notifications for videos because we do upload reviews and other movie discussions quite frequently, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But, Mean Girls 2024. This is a film that I was, lightly hyped for. I was looking forward to it quite a bit. I enjoy that Mean Girls 2004 film, the original, quite a bit. I think it's a lot of fun. So I was also a bit wary about going into this one not because it's a musical. I do love myself a musical every now and then, but because I can find that these reboots, these remakes of these films can be, a little bit derivative and repetitive of the originals, and sadly I did find that of Mean Girls 2024. I think that, especially for someone who is, for people who are familiar with that 2004 film, you're going to find it quite repetitive. I think there are multiple dialogue exchanges that are lifted directly from the original film. This film is, of course, credited to writer Tina Fey, once again, just like that 2004 film. But there's just something about it, the repetition of it, that makes it feel, at times, inauthentic and stale, I find, in the dialogue exchanges. And I ultimately think that sometimes it's up to the cast, sometimes it is not. I think there are some standouts here in the cast, as I get them pulled up one second. I think Renee Rapp, who is sort of a burgeoning pop star, making her debut here, I'm pretty sure, yes, is quite good in the role of Regina George. It is obviously an iconic role to take on, and this time we were adding the dimension of musical to it, and I think she handles it all quite well. What's interesting about her and her musical sequences is that they are displayed quite differently than other characters. I often found that her sequences take on the look and feel of a music video, like a pop music video, more than the other musical sequences do. I'm sure some of that can be accredited to Renee Rapp and her sort of burgeoning pop star status, but also I think it worked filmically in that Regina George is meant to stand out, really be the star of those moments in more ways than the other characters are. So it feels apt, I think, to make her sequences feel different, feel more focused, feel cleaner, more focused on her specifically. As for the real protagonist, though you wouldn't really know it from the marketing material, Katie Heron, as portrayed by Angourie Rice, she's quite good, I think. I think I prefer Lindsay Lohan's performance in the role, but when it's time for her to bring out the musical sequences, she's quite good, she is quite likable, but she just didn't stand out in the role as much as like a Renee Rapp did. Or if I can turn to some of the other plastics in this film, I want to shout out Avantika, who played the Amanda Seyfried character, name of Karen. Yeah, she's really good. I think that, in my theater, as few people as were in there, I think they really responded to her, and she really draws in the camera every time she's on screen. Obviously, she's playing largely a comedic bit character, this character of Karen, who is the stereotypical, when we're talking about the 04 Amanda Seyfried version, the stereotypical dumb blonde. Avantika is obviously not that, but she has those mannerisms and never drops them for even a second. She gets probably the best song in the whole sequence, in the whole film, which is the Halloween scenes. It's really fun. She's a lot of fun. Again, she has that ditzy energy that's so fun to play up, but it doesn't feel like she's working against the material. It really feels like she is embodying that comedic archetype. As for other characters, there is the voice of Moana, Auli Cravalho, as Janet, I believe. Yeah, Janice. Janice, she's quite good. She's solid. I think a lot of the other casts just fit into this box of being solid for me. Even returners like Tina Fey and Tim Meadows kind of just feel like, yeah, we did this already. So yeah, I think in those moments, it can feel, like I said, repetitive. It can even feel low energy at times as we're doing this, because it does feel repetitive. I mean, honestly, I could probably count on two hands the number of new jokes, and a lot of times these new jokes are taking on the tenor of like, well, let's update it for the 2020s. No, let's joke about TikTok, or let's joke about vaping, or so on and so forth. And those are kind of eye rollers, but they're kind of par for the course at this point with these sort of modern teen comedies. So I don't really know. Your mileage may vary there as a viewer. Otherwise, I don't know what else there is to say about Mean Girls. Let's see. The musical sequences, I think, are very fun. They're very well done. They don't fall victim to a lot of the trappings and pitfalls of other modern musicals where we are, for some reason, too close on our main character or characters in general, where we don't get to see the large dancing crowd. We really avoid that. I want to credit the directors of this film's Samantha, Jayne, and Arturo Perez Jr., who did a good job of like keeping that camera wide and also getting getting a lot of motion out of it. There's a lot of times where we were pushing through crowds, we're spinning the camera, we're lifting it, we're diving it through people's legs in these sequences. It is a well-directed film in that regard, and sort of earns its Broadway musical to screen adaptation. Now we're adding a filmic direction to these. We're not, just setting the camera down, watching the cast dance, but we're also not just like being lazy with our choreography and just watching our characters sing. There's a good mix, I think. And there's a lot of great choreography in here. Obviously, there are parallels in the Mean Girls, I guess, adaptations now of the high school as a sort of animal kingdom, and the choreography makes full use of that in a number of sequences where people are sort of moving around like animals, or even just in complete chaos, like throwing each other and jumping on the walls and everything. So that's really fun. As I mentioned, my favorite sequence in the whole film is the Halloween song. It is on the back of Karen, and she delivers maybe the funniest joke in the whole film about sex cancer. That may sound strange coming out of context, but if you've seen the film, I think you would agree that it's a very funny joke. And yeah, I mean, there's a dance break. People are in costumes. We get a lot of mileage out of that whole sequence. We get that fast-paced song to introduce it, and then a slower, more of a okay, Regina George is really displaying who she really is song that I think are both quite good. In general, I would say that I had a fun time with Mean Girls 2024. But I just can't shake my issues with it. The issues largely coming from the script, being like, it feels so repetitive and it feels so derivative. I know that sounds silly to say. It sounds derivative, that it seems derivative coming from it being a remake of the film, but it really feels like it lacks original material and a reason why we are making this other than, oh, it was a successful Broadway musical, so why don't we make it into a movie again? And I feel like we might be losing some things in the copying there. And I think what we're losing is authenticity. Authenticity in the writing, I think, can often feel lacking in this film. So it's a fun time. As long as you know it's a musical, I should say. I think there was a recent report that came out in some exit polls for this film that something like 78% of people going into this opening weekend did not know that it was a musical. That can be sort of blamed on the marketing of this film, which I think was quite poor in displaying that fact, but, not completely lacking. There's a music note in the A, after all. How could you possibly miss that? Anyway, I had a fun time. It feels a little inauthentic at times. The musical sequences are good. There's a couple standouts in the cast. Across the board, I'm gonna say a 5.2. Certainly not something that I find myself really yearning to go back to. 10 times out of 10, I'm gonna be like, if I want to watch if I want to watch Mean Girls, I will watch the '04 original. I might rewatch that Halloween scene on YouTube. I might put a couple songs on my Spotify playlist just to listen over the next couple days, but I think you need more than that to really make an impression on me. And I think they kind of realized that, dumping this film in January, not really sure what to do with this thing, maybe afraid to market it as a musical, as they apparently were. But yeah, that is my thoughts on the new Mean Girls film, which is a musical, despite their best efforts to trick you out of that fact. Solid film. If you have seen it, it was the #1 film at the box office this weekend. So if you have seen it, leave your comments down below to tell me what you think. Are any of my notes sort of not well founded, or did you agree with them? Let me know. And join that Discord server. As I mentioned, we will be back in the future with my typical co-host Tucker Hazel to review more films to come. Thank you.